I think in the West, there's no question that the most influential politician, as seen from today, remembering that 1,000 years is a long time, is Washington.
You could say this man created America. Our first president, the man who slept just about everywhere, George Washington.
Washington was literally the father of the country. Washington personified what America became. He personified the presidency. He personified the sense of democratic life in a republic.
George Washington was the glue that held so much of it together. You know, his extraordinary perseverance and dignity in the face of defeats in the Revolutionary War, and then his insistence that he would not be part of creating an imperial ruling class, and the way he carried out the presidency is an extraordinary example of real grace and humility.
Even today, Washington is everywhere. On Mount Rushmore, in the names of colleges, and of course, on the dollar bill. But he never seems to be smiling. His poorly fitting dentures, made not of wood but hippopotamus tusk, inflicted almost constant pain.
It's so interesting, all those portraits of George Washington. It's impossible to figure out what he looked like. In some of those portraits, he's just this enormous creature, you know, Mr. Leader. And then other ones, he's like this small man. But George Washington, you have the sense that he was a great leader and somebody who sort of put their money where their mouth was.
In 1775, Washington led a ragtag mob of colonial soldiers against highly trained British forces and won. He could have made himself dictator, even king. Instead, he retired to his Mount Vernon plantation in Virginia. It was only when the young republic began to founder that Washington was called back to serve as our first president. Over the next 8 years, his impact was immeasurable. And he may be just as important for what he didn't do as what he did.
Usually, when people leave power, they leave flat. They're carried out of power after they've been killed or died. And Washington was really the first great leader who said, I am subordinate to the people, and after 2 terms as president, I will walk out of the White House. You can't have a democracy without peaceful transfer of power. And George Washington is the man who created the whole notion.
Washington's legacy was a nation, our nation, and his influence, his model, would ripple around the world.